There's a look some men carry that you can't fake. It's not just tired eyes or a few lines on your forehead. It's that heavy, quiet stare of someone who has lived too much life in too little time. A guy who looks like he's 35 on the outside and 85 on the inside. If you feel older than your years, if you sit in rooms and feel disconnected from small talk, if the stuff other people complain about sounds like background noise compared to what you've survived, you need to hear this, because right now, there's a good chance you've labeled yourself with one phrase: I'm damaged. Too much has happened, too many losses, too many hits that never fully healed. You might feel worn out, bitter, numb, or like your spark died 5 years ago and never came back. But psychology has a name for something almost nobody talks about. You've heard of post-traumatic stress. What you rarely hear about is post-traumatic growth. The way some people, instead of being permanently shattered by what happened to them, actually become sharper, clearer, calmer, and deeper than anyone around them. If you've walked through hell and you're still here, you didn't just survive. You came out with a set of rare psychological upgrades that men who've lived soft, cushioned lives will never develop. This isn't positive thinking. This is how your brain, your nervous system, and your character change after you've gone through real darkness. I'm going to walk you through the signs that your damage is actually undeniable strength. Not motivational poster strength. Real, practical, masculine strength. And when you recognize these traits in yourself, a lot of things in your life will suddenly make sense. 1. You don't just have empathy. You have high-def empathy. Most people understand pain the way you understand a movie you watched once. You have lived inside it. There's a difference between, "Yeah, man, that sounds tough," and "I know exactly what that feels like because I've been there at 3:17 a.m., staring at the ceiling, wondering if life is ever going to stop feeling like this." If you've been through real trauma, abuse, neglect, betrayal, poverty, war, addiction, long-term illness, deep heartbreak, your emotional system got rewired. You didn't just learn what pain is. You learned its weight, its temperature, its smell. That changes how you read people. You notice the guy in the corner who smiles but whose eyes are dead. You hear the tiny tremor in someone's voice when they say, "I'm fine." You pick up on micro-expressions, on the silence after a sentence, on the way someone avoids a topic. People open up to you fast, and you probably don't understand why. You're not performing therapy. You're not saying magic words. You just feel safe. Safe because you don't judge. Safe because you're not shocked. Safe because nothing they say can outdark what your brain has already witnessed. That's high-definition empathy. It's exhausting when you don't know how to manage it. You absorb rooms. You notice what everyone else misses. You walk into a social situation, and your nervous system is already scanning. Who's hurting? Who's angry? Where's the tension? But that same trait, when you learn to channel it, is a superpower. It makes you a better leader because you read your team before they burn out. It makes you a better father because you see your kid's pain before it explodes as bad behavior. It makes you a better friend because you can tell when the joke is a mask. The key is this: your empathy is a gift, not a sentence. But like any powerful tool, if you don't set limits, it will drain you dry. You're not supposed to be the emotional landfill for everyone you meet. You're not supposed to bleed out so other people feel lighter. So if you see yourself in this, your next task isn't care less, it's care intelligently. Learn to say, "I'm here for you, but I can't carry all of this." Learn to walk away from emotional vampires who love your depth but offer you nothing back. Learn that you are allowed to not pick up every signal your radar detects. You're not broken because you feel deeply. You're rare. 2. You function in chaos, while everyone else falls apart. There's a quiet shift that happens to a man who has seen real chaos. The stuff that makes other people panic barely moves your needle anymore. Most people live at stress level 2. Their car breaks down, someone snaps at them, the Wi-Fi goes out for 20 minutes, and they're done. They're having a horrible day. You've been at stress level 9 so often that level 5 feels like background noise. Psychology has a name for this: crisis competence. When things go off the rails, your brain does something interesting. Instead of exploding, it narrows. You get calm, focused, cold even. You might have noticed it. When everyone else is shouting, you get quiet. When your family is freaking out, you start giving simple, clear instructions. When there's an emergency, you're suddenly the guy people look to without even knowing why. You didn't choose this. Life forced it on you. Growing up in a volatile home, having to fix adult problems as a kid, surviving unstable relationships, dangerous environments, or intense loss. All of that trained your nervous system. Your baseline for "this is bad" got ripped out and replaced. The upside? You can hold your ground when other men fold. You don't lose your mind over minor inconveniences. You don't crumble when a plan changes. You don't need everything to be perfect to keep moving. You've been carrying emotional weight plates your entire life. So yes, 20 kilos feels light now. But here's the part nobody tells you. When chaos becomes normal, peace can feel weirdly threatening. Some men who grow up in constant stress subconsciously create drama just to feel right. Calm feels wrong. Silence feels dangerous. Stability feels like the quiet part in a horror movie before something jumps out. So they keep choosing partners who are chaos. They keep walking into jobs that are dysfunctional. They keep living in a state of low-grade crisis because that's the only state that feels familiar. If that's you, your next move is this. You don't need more chaos to prove you're strong. You've already passed that test. Your growth now is learning to stay when things are stable, to let your nervous system adjust to the idea that peace is not a trap. You already know how to function in a storm. Now you need to learn how to function in a calm, healthy life without getting bored or self-destructive. That's a higher level of discipline than surviving hell. 3. You've lost your taste for fake. That's not bitterness, that's clarity. One of the most obvious signs you've been through too much, too young, is this. Your tolerance for bullshit has crashed to zero. You might think you're antisocial now. You're not. You're just done pretending. After you've buried people, sat in hospital, waiting rooms at 3 a.m., felt real fear, or counted coins at a gas station wondering if your card will decline. It's very hard to care about office gossip, fake small talk, status games, group chats full of empty flexing people who haven't suffered cling to appearances. They're terrified of being embarrassed, judged, excluded. You've already been humiliated by life. You've already been on your knees. You've already lost things that actually matter. What is there left to fear socially? So you become radically authentic. You say what you actually think. You don't laugh at jokes you don't find funny. You don't flatter people you don't respect. And because of that, two kinds of people react strongly to you. The ones living in illusion. They'll find you too intense, too blunt, too serious. What they really mean is, you make it harder for me to lie to myself. The ones starving for something real. They'll find you magnetic. You say the thing nobody else dares to. You name the elephant in the room. You admit how bad it really got. Trauma does that. It rips off your filters. It kills your appetite for surface-level connection. The downside? You might feel isolated. The world is built around polite pretending. You don't have much energy for that anymore. The upside? You can build friendships, relationships, brotherhoods on actual honesty. Not, bro, we should hang out sometime, fake closeness. Real, I've seen you at your worst and I'm still here. Type bonds. That authenticity is rare. Most men never get there because their life didn't push them hard enough. You did. So now your job is not to regress and force yourself back into a fake version of yourself just to fit in. Your job is to find environments where your honesty is an asset, not a liability. 4. You don't idolize comfort. You respect meaning. Trauma shatters illusions. Most people live under a quiet, unspoken belief. If I just do everything right, life will go smoothly. You already know that's trash. You've watched good people suffer. You've watched hard work not pay off. You've watched stability vanish overnight because of a phone call or one stupid decision. That experience does something profound to your value system. You stop chasing a nice life as the highest goal. You start chasing meaning. That's why. You're bothered by shallow conversations. You feel restless in a job that pays okay but means nothing. You have existential thoughts other people push away. Trauma forces you to confront the big questions early. What am I doing here? Who actually matters? What would I regret on my deathbed? You've already tasted the end. So your brain refuses to live like life is endless. That's not depression. That's clarity. You don't want to spend the next 30 years arguing about nonsense, playing status games, living a copy-paste life because that's what you're supposed to do. You want your time to count for something. That doesn't mean you need to start a foundation and save the world. Meaning can be quiet, showing up for your kids differently than your father did, being the one brother who breaks the generational pattern, building a business that actually helps people instead of just extracting money. Men who haven't suffered often settle. Men who have suffered can't. Their soul refuses. It's not that you're never satisfied. It's that you know what's at stake when you waste your life. 5. You've developed a ruthless boundary system. There's a point in every survivor's life where they snap. Not outwardly, inwardly. They quietly decide, I am never letting anyone treat me like that again. If you grew up with constant disrespect, manipulation, or emotional chaos, you likely tolerated things as a young man that you would never tolerate now. You took on friends who used you when convenient, partners who blamed you for everything, family members who crossed lines because that's just how they are. You let it happen because you didn't know better, or because you had no power to change it. Trauma, especially interpersonal trauma, eventually forces you to become one of two men: a doormat who normalizes it and repeats the pattern, or a man who becomes almost allergic to disrespect. If you're reading this, there's a good chance you're the second. You've hit that point where one snide comment can shut you down completely. One act of betrayal flips a permanent switch. One sign of manipulation and you're done. Other people might call you cold, harsh, or unforgiving, but they didn't live your history. They didn't see what happens when you keep giving one more chance. Your boundaries now aren't random. They're built from data. You learned repeatedly that people don't magically change because you tolerate them. If you don't protect your peace, nobody will. You can love someone and still not be safe with them. So you choose safety now, not the safe that comes from avoiding risk. The safe that comes from choosing who gets access. That's not you being broken. That's you finally being the guardian of your own life. Could you become too rigid? Yes. Could you push away good people because your threat radar is overactive? Yes. That's the work now, fine-tuning your filters. But your instinct to protect yourself, that's healthy. You earned it the hard way. 6. You're not just resilient, you're anti-fragile. A resilient person can take a hit and bounce back to where they were. An anti-fragile person takes a hit and comes back sharper. Most people chase resilience like it's the peak. I hope I can recover from this. You've already done that more than once. You lost things and eventually rebuilt. You got hurt and still kept your heart open, even if just a sliver. You've had days you thought were the end, and here you are, listening to this. If your life has been a series of collapses and rebuilds, your identity is different from the average man. He thinks, I hope nothing goes wrong. You think, something will go wrong. When it does, I'll adjust. That quiet confidence is anti-fragility. You don't trust circumstances, you trust your capacity. So when a relationship ends, a job disappears, a plan fails, yes, it hurts. You're not a robot, but underneath the pain is a base layer of, I've come back from worse. That mindset is priceless. It's what lets you take calculated risks other men avoid. Move countries, change careers, leave unhealthy situations. Walk away from people who expect you to stay, no matter how badly they treat you. Here's the twist, though. Being anti-fragile doesn't mean you have to constantly prove it. You don't need to keep putting yourself in painful situations to remind yourself you can survive. The point of knowing you can walk through hell isn't to live there, it's to move through life with a quiet spine. 7. You carry quiet leadership energy. Whether you know it or not, people who have been through serious trauma often don't see themselves as leaders. They feel too flawed, too scarred, too messed up. But watch what happens in real-world pressure situations. Family drama reaches a breaking point. Everyone calls you. A friend is spiraling. They reach out to you, not the guy whose life has always been smooth. At work, when there's a crisis, everyone subconsciously looks in your direction. Why? Because you give off something men who've never suffered can't fake. Gravitas. Depth. Weight. Presence. You've buried versions of yourself most men haven't even met yet. You've sat through long nights with ugly thoughts. You've faced questions about life, death, and meaning that most people outrun with distraction. That gives your words, your silence, and your decisions a gravity that people feel. You're not a hype leader. You're not the loudest guy in the room. You're the anchor, the one who doesn't flinch, the one who doesn't overreact, the one who has already mentally rehearsed worst-case scenarios. That kind of masculine presence is rare, and yes, it comes at a price. You earned it through pain, loss, and pressure. But if you recognize this in yourself, understand, you are not just trying to get through life. You are quietly built to lead, not necessarily in a corporate sense, but in your family, your circle, your community, your relationships. Leadership doesn't mean pretending you're invincible. It means being honest about what you've walked through and still choosing to show up. 8. You think you're broken because nobody showed you the other side. If you grew up male, you were probably handed one script about hardship. Man up. Don't cry. Get over it. Other people have it worse, so you learn to take everything that happened to you and push it down. No processing, no guidance, no map, just pressure. Trauma plus silence is what breaks men, not trauma itself. Most men never hear about post-traumatic growth. Nobody tells them, your hyper-awareness can become wisdom, your survival skills can become leadership, your scars can become connection instead of shame. So they walk around like defective machines thinking, if people knew what I've been through, they wouldn't want me. When the truth is, the very things you're hiding are the reasons the right people would respect you. You're not behind other men. You're not late. You've just been playing life on hard mode while they were on easy. They got to build without being hit. You had to build while being hit. Of course you're tired. Of course you're cynical. Of course you're wary. But that doesn't mean you're less. It means you've been training with a weighted vest on. The moment you stop seeing your past as a disqualifier and start treating it as a training ground, your entire posture towards life shifts. 9. The kintsugi mindset. You're not cracked, you're reforged. In Japan, there's that concept you've probably heard of. Kintsugi. Take a bowl, drop it, it shatters. Most people throw it away. Kintsugi doesn't. They gather the pieces, mix gold into the glue, and put it back together. The bowl doesn't look like new. It looks better. The cracks aren't hidden. They're highlighted. The philosophy behind it is simple. This object has suffered. That doesn't lower its value. It increases it. That's you. You are not a mint condition man. You are not fresh out of the box. You're not supposed to be. You've been dropped, cracked, maybe smashed completely. But you didn't stay on the floor. You pulled pieces of yourself back together. Through late nights, through quiet decisions nobody saw, through moments where you got up when it made more sense to quit. Those cracks, they're not proof you're weak. They're proof you were under more pressure than most people ever experience, and you're still here. That already sets you apart from a man whose life has never been tested. The question now is not, how do I become like those untouched people? The question is, how do I build a life that matches the man I've become through all of this? 10. How to use what you've been through instead of being used by it. None of this is about romanticizing trauma. You shouldn't be grateful for the things that were done to you. You shouldn't thank the people who hurt you. But you can decide what happens now. Here's how you start turning all of this from random suffering into deliberate power. 1. Clean up your language. Stop calling yourself broken, damaged, fucked up. Too far gone, those words don't just describe you. They shape your behavior. Start speaking in terms of, I've been through heavy things. I'm still recalibrating. I have more mileage than most men my age. I'm learning how to use what I've been through instead of letting it use me. That's not delusion. It's direction. 2. Build a body that can carry your mind. Trauma lives in the nervous system and the body, not just in thoughts. You don't process this stuff by thinking harder. You process it by giving your body a place to burn the residue. Lift heavy. Walk long. Sweat hard. Not as a punishment, as maintenance. You've been carrying invisible weight for years. Your physical strength needs to match your internal load. Watch what happens to your self-respect when your body finally feels like it belongs to a man who has been through what you've been through. 3. Choose one place where you tell the unfiltered truth. Most men never do this. Pick one outlet. A journal. A therapist. A trusted friend who has earned it. A men's group that isn't built on fake positivity and tell the truth in high resolution, not, yeah, childhood was rough, but this is what I saw, this is what it did to me, this is what I still carry. You don't owe that level of detail to everyone, but you owe it to yourself somewhere, because the things you refuse to look at are the things that still quietly control your life. Picture me 4. Stop using your past as an excuse to accept less. There's a dark comfort in telling yourself, because of my trauma, this is the best I can do. It lets you stay in jobs, relationships, and habits that are far beneath who you actually are. Flip it. Because of what you've been through, you should require more, not less. More respect. More honesty. More alignment. Theme, more peace. You know what the bottom feels like. That alone should make you less willing to live in half-life. 5. Start seeing yourself as a protector, not just a survivor. Surviving is personal. Protecting is bigger. You didn't go through all of this just to sit alone and nod at podcasts that get it. There are people in your orbit, kids, younger men, friends, partners, who will go through their own hell. Your presence, your story, your honesty can shorten their suffering time. Not by lecturing, by being real. The father who admits, I've been where you are. The older brother who says, here's what helped me get out. The friend who doesn't flinch when someone shares their darkest thought. That's leadership. That's legacy. You've already paid the price. You might as well get the full return. You might feel old inside, like your soul has seen more than your body has any right to. But that doesn't mean your story's over. It just means you're not on chapter 2 anymore. You're not fragile. You're not unfinished. You're not disqualified. You're a man who's been through more than most people can understand. And instead of folding, you adapted. You became more empathetic, more calm in crisis, more honest, more boundary-driven, more focused on what matters. That's not damaged goods. That's a rare build. Use it.